If you grew up on Saturday matinees, black and white TV, or stories your granddad swore were true, you've heard the name Gene Autry. Folks called him America's favorite cowboy, but that's almost too small for what he really was. Gene Autry didn't just sing in the saddle, he helped build the whole idea of the singing cowboy as a national hero. He came into this world as Orvin Grover Autry on September 29, 1907, near Tioga, Texas, and he was raised over in southern Oklahoma, where work was work and nothing came easy. And before Hollywood ever learned his name, Gene was doing the kind of job that makes a man listen close. He worked as a railroad telegraph operator, night shifts, lonely stations, and plenty of time to pick a guitar and figure out what your voice is good for. Then comes the break that sounds like a tall tale, but it's part of the Autry story. He gets nudged toward show business, and by the early 1930s, he's cutting records and landing real radio time. One song in particular lit the fuse, That Silver-Haired Daddy of Mine. Accounts from radio history sources note it sold hundreds of thousands of copies and helped push him onto big programs like WLS in Chicago, including the National Barn Dance, which was about as close to country music's front porch as you could get back then. Now, here's the thing people forget. Gene Autry wasn't just a singer who got lucky on the air. He understood the moment. America was clawing through the Depression, and folks wanted a clean kind of hero. Somebody who sounded sincere, looked steady, and made it feel like things might turn out all right. Gene's voice did that, and once movies got hold of him, that comfort traveled everywhere. In 1935, Gene rides into picture houses in a way that changes the whole Western lane. He stars in Tumbling Tumbleweeds, a Republic Pictures Western that helped lock in the formula. Songs, action, and a good man trying to set things right. And after that, the public appetite was clear. The Country Music Hall of Fame puts it plain. From the Depression through World War II, Autry was a towering bestseller in country and Western music, and his movie stardom carried that sound to people who might have never tuned in otherwise. That's a big deal, because it means Gene didn't just have hits. He widened the whole doorway for the music. Then the war years hit, and the story takes a turn that a lot of entertainers of that era shared. Gene Autry served in the U.S. military during World War II, stepping away from the screen at the height of his fame. And when he came back, he kept right on working. Radio, records, and eventually television, always aimed at family audiences, always leaning on that steady, we're gonna be okay tone. And let's talk about the part of his catalog that still sneaks up on people every December. In 1949, Gene Autry recorded Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and it didn't just become a seasonal tune, it became one of the pillars of American Christmas music. Even the Library of Congress, in its own writing about the song's history, points straight to Autry's recording as the moment it turns into a lasting holiday classic. So you've got a man who helped define Western film music, helped carry country into living rooms nationwide, and also ends up being part of the soundtrack to Christmas for generations. That's range, whether folks admit it or not. But Gene Autry's story keeps going past the stage lights. He became a serious media and business figure, radio, television, and a long run of investments that turned him into something like a Western world mogul. Organizations tied to broadcasting history point out just how central radio was to his rise, and later honors followed in that lane too. And then there's baseball, because Gene Autry didn't just collect success, he went out and bought responsibility with it. Major League Baseball's Angels franchise history is tangled up with his name from the start. Autry became the first owner of the team that debuted in 1961, and he stayed connected to that club for decades, long enough that plenty of fans grew up thinking of the Angels as Gene Autry's team. He wasn't a mascot owner either. He was present, invested, and stubborn the way baseball owners can be. Then, in the 1990s, as money in sports got bigger and stranger, Autry began shifting ownership. Disney bought in with an agreement for a significant share in 1995, and the arrangement eventually led to Disney control after Autry's later sale and then his death. Now, for a quick piece of trivia that's actually a pretty good summary of his whole life, Gene Autry is widely credited as the only person with stars in all 5 categories on the Hollywood Walk of Fame: motion pictures, television, recording, radio, and live performance. That's not just fame. That's a lifetime of showing up in every format America had. And late in life, he helped cement the heritage side of the Western story, too. The Autry Museum in Los Angeles traces back to his dream of building a place that tells the story of the American West and how it shaped the country, with the museum opening in 1988. So when you hear Gene Autry, don't just picture a cowboy hat and a horse named Champion. Picture a working-class Oklahoma and Texas kid who learned how to speak to the whole nation through radio speakers, movie screens, television sets, record grooves, and even a ballpark on a summer night. That's the kind of legend that doesn't need exaggeration. It just needs remembering. If you enjoyed this deep dive, y'all go on and subscribe and follow Classic Country TV. And for more stories like this, pull up ClassicCountryTV.com and keep that porch light on. We've got plenty more legends to talk about.